Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the one thing that free-to-play players are probably always struggling about, and it's artifacts, right? Artifacts in Call of Dragons, because it is the hardest area in the game still to progress in. It's so hard, and honestly, the difference between just a level 1 or level 2 artifact in the legendary slot compared to a level 5 because of all the stat gain that you're gaining, it's unreal, right? Especially with the newer artifacts like the Gold Crest giving you the 1.5, meaning it goes all the way up to 7.5%. It really is important to max an artifact, even if we're talking about epics, right? Because the thing is, with epic artifacts, you get a 5% damage taken reduction. And for free-to-play players, this is so important. Like, this one stat is so important. Because if you don't have that stat, you are honestly losing so much harder in a trade if you accidentally just hit that T5 player by mistake, right? And everyone's done it. No one can say, you know, I haven't. Everyone has. It's just, let's be real with each other, right? But reducing that damage by 5% is so key. And the thing is, we've got some epic artifacts on screen. Obviously, we've got some blue artifacts that we will have an honorable mention, but I'm not going to really use any of them or recommend any of them. But purple-wise, there is a couple of artifacts you could be running, and there is another one, obviously, I don't own, but you can still be running too. And we're going to go through all of them, right? So we'll go through first, let's go through archers, right? Because the thing is, archer-wise, Heart Piercer is probably the go-to, right? 5% damage taker reduction, a bunch of attack, which is really, really good. And the thing is, it's a 2,000 skill damage factor to a target. And what's really good about the Heart Piercer for free-to-play players is the fact that you have that 65% chance to do a 15% defense break. And in this game, as you guys have been realizing over time, defense mitigation, HP mitigation, defense breaks, you know, HP bypass, you name it, all of that is so good. That's what you need on your marches. That's what makes a good trade, right? And now if you're having a free-to-play player with the Heart Piercer maxed out, right, you have a 5% damage taken reduction and a 65% chance to do a 15% defense break. Guys, this is going to give you, honestly, the most potential trade value in your reports, especially if you're an archer player only looking at artifacts in the epic category, right? There is another artifact I do want to talk about. I don't own it myself because you only can obtain it, obviously, through the Forge of Light. This is the Steel Heart Avenger. This is not too bad either. This is more of a super DPS build, but you'll realize if you have a level 5 one of these, compared to your other one, the defense break is going to give you more value. This is increasing your normal attack damage, which is very powerful on the right heroes, and it's a really powerful AoE, you know, skill. But the thing is, the normal attack damage increase isn't going to be much of a benefit for you if you're not hitting through the T5 or T4 players' defense, right? They're going to still out-trade you in the long run. And that's one problem with this artifact. It's a really good option for your second artifact, right? So if you're looking for a second artifact in the game for an epic hero, Steel Heart Avenger is the slot, right? So you will be running, if you're running 2 archer heroes, 2 archer legions, right? You're going to be running that Heart Piercer as your go-to. It's your number 1. Then the Steel Heart Avenger is going to be your number 2, right? That's just how you're going to be rocking things for quite a long while until you get some, you know, really good legendary artifacts. Honorable mentions is like the Viola's Bow. You only need this level 3, I would say, and you're going to get better value. This is going to give you way more damage, and it's on AoE, and you have a really powerful utility effect, and you're having 3% on the damage taken and damage dealt, right? Really good trade-off, and that's kind of where you're going to be moving from the epic, you know, artifacts to the legendaries. When you start getting your legendaries to 3%, honestly, if you get those skills to level 3, you're going to be doing a lot better work, right? Moving on, let's move to infantry, because infantry has arguably the best artifact currently, I would say, in the game for tanking. It is the best artifact, hands down, in the game. And that is the Freeze Ring, right? The Freeze Ring is undeniably the best artifact to tank, because what this allows you to do is basically have a ice block from WoW, so you can still get targeted by, you know, players, but you take no damage. You are literally suspended and you can't cast your rage skills, you can't do anything. You can cast the artifact to come out quicker if you want, but you don't take any damage, guys. And this is for 10 seconds. So if you're a free-to-play player, a low spender, even a whale, right, and you've got your Spirit Bone Talk maybe on your first march, or you're just looking for that one artifact to slap onto your march, so you run in and you know you can tank for a bit of time, and then maybe when you're at 50%, you hit the barrier, right? That is this is what you want to do. Literally, this is all you want to do. It's undeniable how powerful in open field combat, guys, when you are being targeted, right? People don't realize how easy it is to get value for this, right? Because you got to think, right? If you have a march out right now, let's just get like an infantry march out. Let's pull Nika out, right? Nika, boom, 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 and freeze ring, right? The one thing what people don't realize is when you have the freeze ring on, right? It takes no rage. So this is instant. You have full instant access to this powerful skill, and you're only relying on the cooldown. And the cooldown is basically by the time you've walked back to your city, wait a minute or two, it's back up. It's kind of crazy, right? But players in Mass Wars, which we've always watched, you play in dot mode. You always play in dot mode. Dot mode for players is the best way to play the game. It doesn't crash your game. You can understand what's going on, and obviously you're just dragging onto the players. And what's so powerful about that is when you do your ice barrier, there's no animation. No one knows. But when you go in, you can see it. And that is the game changer. And that's why it's such an insane artifact. Because you can be literally a march with 100 troops, and if you're able to hit this in time, and you've got 90 players all targeting you, guys, bro, you're gonna keep 90 on you for 10 seconds because they think they're trying to kill you in the red and you're not dying, and they don't realize that, and they're gonna keep going, and you're gonna see your, you know, meter go up and down. And that's why no matter what anyone says on any content creator's channel, guys, this is the best tanking artifact in the entire game. Until something has something similar to it, nothing's going to beat it. I'm going to be honest. It's so goddamn good on the amount of time you waste on the enemy, the tempo swings it can do. It's so good. It's just that good. Mage. Mage has arguably one of the better ones too in the entire game. I would call it the second best actual epic artifact in the entire game, coming right behind the freezer ring, and it is the magic bomb. The thing with the magic bomb and what's so powerful about the magic bomb is the legion that gets targeted by it, guys, cannot do anything about it. Meaning, if you get magic bombed, you cannot jump into a rally, you cannot jump into a pass, you cannot jump into a city until the bomb's been detonated. That is so good. Because what this allows free-to-play players, even though it's only 1800 damage, and yeah, it's some nice okay damage, right? What this allows players to do, and we've seen it in the past on some, you know, servers, and big shout out to you guys that do this, because we even, I think, watched it happen on the EDS server, which was absolutely crazy during, I think, the Zone 2 and Zone 3 wars. You can have your mages behind the pass hit all of the infantry as they're walking in, and someone time bombs them. And as soon as that time bomb goes on, that march can't enter the pass. It can't enter the rally that might be attacking the pass. And that that 8 seconds that you buy is game changing, because that rally could not get those reinforcements. You could kill that march before it even gets that 8 seconds is up, which is so good. And that's what makes this artifact such a powerful game changer when it comes to epic artifacts. And people don't, I think, realize how good that is, especially in open field. You're preventing so much value by just equipping this onto your heroes and using it correctly in the right scenarios. Yeah, you can just use it, obviously, anywhere else, open field, and you're just fighting. But honestly, when you start to realize how good this is on the niche scenarios that honestly happen a lot often than you think, it's so goddamn good, right? And that's the magic bomb. So definitely, Mage users, you've got definitely this to run on, right? The next actual artifact that mages I do actually enjoy using is this Lakeside Rhapsody. If you actually get this through the Forge of Light event and you're able to level this bad boy up over time, it's a really good artifact for just pure damage. I'm going to be honest with you. When you max this out, it's 2,000 damage. Anytime you inflict a Hoarfrost or Ensnare, so anytime you have your Waldeer and your Alloin all equipped, guys, and they inflict that every 30 seconds, you're going to deal another 250 damage over time, which is great. It's just a nice actual artifact that does obviously better AoE damage and just better damage than your magic bomb, but you will lose the power and the utility that you get from the magic bomb, right? So that's why I kind of put this a little bit lower, but it's still a really, really good for you, right? Moving on. Finally, archer players, we have 2 artifacts we can use, and yes, we can use 2 artifacts. The best artifact to use, obviously, is the Heart Piercer bow still. The Heart Piercer is just crazy. This is honestly such a good artifact for free-to-play players. Players don't realize, again, the fact that, yes, it's only a 65% chance, but again, you're going to get this off more often than you think. 15% defense break is what, for that 3-turn window, is going to give you a good merit report. I'm going to be honest with you, it is going to give you such a good merit report. And again, it's such an easy artifact to max out and get the 5% damage taken reduction, just like the magic bomb and just like the freezing ring. That's why I really have this high up compared to the other artifacts, which I don't have access to. Look, I don't even have access to it, because that's because the other archer artifact, which is honestly good to use, is the Steelheart Avenger, right? This is the one you get from the Forge of Light event. So if you're rolling those Forge of Light events for that one legendary artifact you want, and you hit this for your archers, again, if you max this out, it's not too bad, guys, because you're able to get a massive normal attack damage swing, which is pretty good on the right heroes, like a Guan Win, for example, would love this sort of effect, right? But the issue with this, and the only issue I honestly have with this, is the normal attack damage steroid, right? Because the artifact does a decent amount of damage, and it's AoE, which is really cool. But for T4 players, especially for those that might be against a lot of T5, the increase on your normal attack damage, you'll realize, honestly, isn't going to make too much of a difference, because the T5 player has so much of a stat advantage with the defense, with the HP, with the level 5 legendary artifact, that this is not what you want. You want to be able to kind of tank up and take a little bit of damage, or mitigate those stats that those players have. So that's why, honestly, to this day, Heart Piercer is still, for me, the best artifact that you're going to be running when it comes to archers, only speaking about, epic artifacts. Now, Cavalry is weird, because the thing is with Cavalry, I would honestly say you have 2 artifacts, and even with one of them is a legendary artifact. And I know you're going to be like, wait, every other artifact's been epic for everyone else. Why don't we get a legendary one? The only reason I'm saying that is because a level 1 and even a level 2 legendary artifact is good, because you're not really using it for anything but movement. And you probably understand what I'm talking about, and that is the Storm Arrows. If you are a Cavalry main and you get this, level 1, you can use this. This is the one legendary artifact I would honestly say, no matter what you're doing, you can use this. Why? It's the one only artifact in the entire game for Cavs that lets you get into places you just shouldn't, right? This is the easiest way to hop over rivers, over certain mountains, over cliff tops, you name it. And if you're going to Cav farm kill people with your calves, it's one of the best ways of doing it. As you can imagine, so is the Cloak of Stealth. The only issue with the Cloak of Stealth is if you're in a certain war zone and there's those choke points, and honestly, they've got marchers out there and there's just too much, obviously, hot areas, you're unable to use the Cloak of Stealth. This is not going to get you to that place, right? And that's where this shines. It really shines where there's those little leakage, you know, routes that you can just turn on the Cloak of Stealth, walk there without realizing, and go farm kill again for a free-to-play player. So that's why I'm already recommending these two artifacts to you guys. This one could be level 1. I would say level 5 for this, just to get your damage taken reduction. You want that up. And the time's kind of crazy. So that's why you want that. Moving on, though, to finish off with Cav, I've tried this out myself. I don't really like it. That's the Centaur Bow. It's a 1500 damage factor. If you're really just going to play Cavs to Leroy Jenkins, you could Centaur Bow until you get a good, honestly, Solan's Blade, or even better, obviously, the Kingslayer, right? If you can get a good Kingslayer or the Solan's Blade, that's going to get replaced straight away. So that's the only kind of like honorable mention I will say with the epic artifacts. Now, there's two other artifacts I haven't really mentioned yet, and that is the Staff of Spring and the Dagger of Betrayal, right? These two are actually really powerful support artifacts. People are potentially sleeping on them. The Staff of Spring, again, if you have this maxed out, it's going to give you the magic HP, which is crazy. It's one of the only, you know, good artifacts that's going to give you this stat, which is making your units super tanky. And you can honestly set this up on autocast and self-heal yourself. I'm going to be honest, you could do that, right? And you'll be surprised on how much sustain this is going to give you on an individual level. On top of that, the other honorable mention, right, the Dagger of Betrayal. This is one artifact that could become really good for mage supports. So in this Tara, Dagger of Betrayal. And that is if you don't have, you know, the Tier of Arbor, right? The Dagger of Betrayal, why this could be so powerful is because you're dispelling debuffs. And in another video I've done already on the channel, you can check the video up on the top corner there, it explains how powerful the strip is. You can strip any sort of buff in Call of Dragons. That is like a Madeline Shield, the Goresh damage reductions, even the keen buffs from like Syndromes and so on. You can just remove so much if it's an added buff, right? If you see it get added on like a, you know, like a hero synergy, for example, right? That is a buff you can strip. So it's so good and underrated for matches, right? So this is one other thing that you could be using. And in this next season, guys, I am going to do a full video on it. Yes, I'm going to do a full video on the Dagger of Betrayal. I'm going to talk about how good this could be with one particular hero set, you know, setup in the game, and see how good it actually is for a free-to-play player and maybe a T5 player. What if I ran this as a potential support match? It could be an offensive option and really, really crazy, right? So with that, we've kind of gone through, honestly, all the artifacts I would recommend for players. If you are wondering, and this is going to be kind of like the final kind of talking point on artifact, it's going to be my Archer's Mastering Manual. This gives you a bunch of defense. It's a really good artifact for the one hero pairing, Magrat and Zadar. People don't realize that, right? Because if you're a free-to-play player and you don't have a really good legendary artifact, but you do have access to something like Syndron, Freyga, Mag, Zadar, this artifact is the one you would probably run. Because the thing is, this artifact, when you max this out, right, you're getting 25% attack bonus for 20 seconds when it's triggered. On top of that, passively, you're gaining so much maximum unit defense and legion defense with that 5% damage taken reduction, right? You are tanky. You are really, really tanky. So this is a really good alternative. It's basically, if you think about it, the selfish version of the Heart of Kamase, right? Until you get Heart of Kamase that could give, you know, 20% to both players maybe, or like mine's at level 2 I'm using. Use it, right? Because you're getting basically 18% and 18%, so it's just a little bit better, but it's for 10 seconds. You can use that, right? But if you don't have that Heart of Kamase, why not use the Archer's Master's Manual? And that is honestly a really underrated, again, epic artifact. And I think free-to-play players, probably been looking at these and been wondering what maybe myself or a content creator has been feeling compared to the legendary ones, right? Because we always talk about legendary artifacts because those are honestly the most powerful ones, but you have to have obviously an epic artifact before as a stepping stone to get there, which a lot of people are not understanding. So hopefully I've given you guys some nice context, feedback, and my opinion on, like, honestly the best epic artifacts you can be grabbing for your account. If you guys have got any other artifacts you think are better, maybe put it down in the comment section down below, right? Tell me your thoughts. Smash the like, help me out, and subscribe, share the video about. And yeah, until the next one, stay safe, guys, stay sneaky. Peace out.